going to walk you through the steps on how to make a detailed drawing for our CAD block part 15. And so the first thing you need to do is once you have the CAD block open, I'm going to go ahead and go to Design, click Drawing, and from Design. From there, my contents are going to be the full assembly. I'm going to I'm going to use a template for the drawing sheet, and I'm going to make sure I have CTEA selected as my template. That A size template is going to be a standard 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper. So once we have that done, we can come out here and we can see that it is trying to place a view. What I'm going to do is change the scale of the view to 1. And the other thing that I want to show you while we're here is the orientation. And so depending on how the part is modeled, the front view might actually not be the front view of the object. And so you can change that because the first view that we want to place in our drawing is the front view. And so from here, I'm going to go ahead and click front because this is the correct front view. Just a reminder that the front view should be the view that shows the part in its most natural position and also shows the most detail for the part. And so once I have that front view figured out, I'm going to go ahead and click to place that, and I'll click OK. From here, we're going to project 3 other views. So I'll go ahead and click the Project View button up here. I'll click on the front view, and I will project up a top view. I will also go to the right and click and project a right side view. And then I'm going to come up at an angle and project a isometric view. It's like a 3D view of our part. So once I have all 3 of those views clicked, I can go ahead and click the green check mark and it will place those views for me. One thing to notice about once I have those views placed, if I move the front view, the top and right side views move along with it because they are orthographic projections of from the front view. And so they should move together. The next thing that we'll do is we will get the view details that we need for each of our views. On the 3D view, the isometric view, I'm going to go ahead and click Edit View. And we're going to change the style here to shaded. And so I'll go ahead and click to make that shaded and click Close. Anytime that we have an isometric or a 3D view, we're going to want to have it shaded in our drawings. Next thing that we'll do is we will adjust these to show hidden lines in our views. So I'm going to right click on the front view, click Edit View, and under Style I'm going to go ahead and click to Show Hidden Lines. And you can see that those hidden lines have shown up in the views. Go ahead and click Close from there. Once we have those steps done, we have all our views placed, we can start creating some annotations for our detail drawing. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in center marks for all of the holes that we have in our part. And so up here under the Geometry tab, I can click Center Mark. I then can click on all of the holes that I have in my part, and it will put a center mark in the center of those holes so that we can annotate those holes' location easier when we do our annotations for the drawing. So again, you'll want to make sure you have center marks on all the holes. The next thing we're going to do is place center lines in the view where you don't see the actual circle for the hole. And so this hole is right here. It's represented in the top view by these 2 hidden lines. And so I'm going to click those 2 hidden lines, and it's going to bisect those hidden lines and put a center line in between them. And so anywhere that we have a hole that we don't see the actual circle for the hole, we're going to go ahead and put in a center line bisector for those holes. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do is change some of our document settings so that everything will fit on our size A sheet nicely. So under document settings up here, I'm going to click the little caret. Under text height, I'm going to click to edit the text height. And I'm going to change all of these text heights to 70,000. And again, that's just going to allow us to be able to see all the dimensions and fit it on this size A sheet of paper nice and neat. The next thing that we're going to do is edit our dimension units, and so I'll go ahead and click to edit those here. Under linear precision, I'll go ahead and change it to 3 decimal places, so we're going to dimension to the 1,000th of an inch. And then I'm going to click this button that will make the trailing zeros show up. So once you have that done, you can go ahead and click OK. And we're ready to start dimensioning our part. So one good strategy to start dimensioning parts is to start with one dimension first. I always like to start with the width dimension, and so width dimensions run from left to right in the front view and left to right in the top view. And so what I do is I start at the left edge of the object and I go across until I run into something that needs to be dimensioned. And so in this case, the location for this hole needs to be dimensioned. I could dimension it down here in the front view from here to here. That's not a great place to do it because it doesn't show the actual hole, the feature of it. It shows a hidden line for it. So I'm going to actually dimension that location for the width of that hole in the top view. So I'll click on the edge of my object, I'll click on my center mark, and I can drag that dimension down and place it. So again, moving from left to right across the object, the next thing I run into is the center line for the hole that goes through the object. I'm going to do that one in the front view because again it shows the hole detail in that view. Next thing I run into is this edge right here. That's the overall edge of the object, and so I'm going to actually do that with by dimensioning this arc right here as a radius. So I'll click to place that dimension in right there, and so that radius gives us the dimension. So that's from the center point to here, so the overall diameter of that is 1 inch. Next thing I run into moving from left to right is the center mark for this hole, and so I'm going to do that from center to center from here to here on my object, and I can click to place that dimension. Notice that the dimensions line up. We want those dimensions to line up in our object. And then the last thing that I have, again moving from left to right across the object, I have this dimensioned, I have this dimensioned, I have this dimensioned, is the overall width of the object. And so I could do that in a few places. I could do it here, I could do it up here on the top, but I think the best place in this drawing to do it is going to be down here on the front view from this point to this point. So I'll dimension the overall width there. So that takes care of all of our width dimensions in the object. The next thing that we need to do is dimension the height dimensions in our object. So height dimensions run from the bottom of the front view to the top and the bottom of the right view to the top. And so the first thing I run into, if I start at the bottom and work my way up, is this little ledge here for the object. I'll dimension that right in the front view, so I'll click the 2 points, drag out my dimension and place it. The next thing that we run into moving from the bottom to the top is the center mark for the hole. And so I could dimension that over here in the right side view, but it doesn't show the hole as a circle. So I could dimension it right here in the front view. If I do it that way though, it creates a very long extension line across the object. And so I'm going to actually click on that and delete it. And we're going to actually dimension that over here on the left of the object. All right, I have a shorter dimension line, a shorter extension line if I do it on the left side of the object. And so that's where I'm going to choose to place that dimension. The last thing we have is just the overall height. We already have that dimensioned here with the radius, and so from the center to here is a 1/2 inch, and so we know it's another 1/2 inch, so the overall height of the part is 2 inches. So I do not need to dimension that because it's already shown on the object. The last thing that we need to dimension are our depth dimensions. Depth dimensions run from left to right in the right side view, so here to here, and they run from bottom to top in the top view. So these are depth dimensions and these are depth dimensions. And so if I'm dimensioning my depth dimensions and start on the left side of the object, the first thing I run into is the location dimension for this hole. I'm going to do it in the top view because it shows the hole as a circle. And again, I'm going to click on that point and the center line and drag out that dimension. The next thing I run into is from here to here. That's the edge of this part. So to dimension that, I think I'm going to dimension it from here to here because it shows that feature. So this is the important thing. I could dimension this space, but I think it would be better to dimension it from here to here. And so this shows the feature dimension. And so I have that dimension. So I have the center dimension. I have this dimension. The next thing I need is the center line for my other hole. I'm going to do that from center to center. So I'll zoom in on my top view a little bit. I'm going to dimension that from here to here. Drag out my dimension. Make sure the dimension lines line up. And then the last thing I have is the overall depth of the object. I could do that down here in the right side view. I could do it up here in the top view. I think for this case, I'm going to go ahead and do that in the right side view here. So I'll dimension from this point to this point and bring down the dimension for that. And so that takes care of all of our size and location dimensions for our object. Now we're going to need to dimension the features in our print. And so we have some different features. We have an arc right here that needs to be dimensioned. And so with my dimension tool, if I click on that, it will bring out a radius dimension for me for that feature. So I can click to place it. And then I can, if I hit escape, I can then move the dimension, make it look a little nicer on the print. Where I want that to be. So that looks a little better, so I'll leave that there. The next thing we have to dimension are our holes, and so we have 3 holes in the top view. I'm going to go ahead and click to dimension those holes. So if I click on the hole, I can click to come out here and dimension the hole. Click to place it. And we're going to add a note to this dimension because all 3 of these holes are the same. So if I double click on that, I can edit the dimension. And I'm going to type in the notation 3, capital X, and hit the space bar. And what that means is that all 3 of the holes in this view are exactly the same size, and so we don't need to dimension them all. The last thing I typed in is THRU. That means through. And so that means the holes go through the part, and so they go all the way through it. So that takes care of those 3 holes. Again, if you need to modify this to make it look a little neater, you can move those dimensions around a little bit. We have the hole in our front view we need to dimension. So again, I'll get my dimension tool. I'm going to click on the hole. This is a 1/2 inch diameter hole, so we have the diameter sign. I'll hit escape and then double click to edit it. And then this hole goes all the way through as well. So I'll type in capital THRU after the hole. And then the last thing that we have to dimension, we have a couple of little arcs here, radius on the top view. So I'll click those. I'm going to actually cross the extension line there. You want to avoid that if you can. In this case, I don't know that there's a better way to do that, so we'll leave it right here. And then I'm going to type in 2x because that happens 2 times on this view, and they're both the same. So once you have that done, you have a very good detail drawing for the part. You want to make sure that when you're doing this, your views are not to one side of the part. You want to try to make them as centered as possible. And so if you need to move your drawing to make it look a little nicer, you can do that and make sure they're kind of centered on the sheet. And that's how you create a detail drawing.